Joey Logano, one of the most hated drivers in NASCAR. For most of my time as a fan of the sport, I have, let's just say, strongly disliked him. But why is that the case for so many fans? And drivers too? Well, when I first started following NASCAR in 2020, I rooted for Joey Logano, mainly because of his paint scheme. He's not the only guy to rock the yellow and red Pennzoil car, but he's definitely the guy that it's most identified with. And as a fan of the number 24, both for the paint schemes and for the legacy built by Jeff Gordon and the Flame scheme, I was heavily attracted, suffice to say, to the iconic schemes of the sport. So from NASCAR racing on Forza Motorsport 6 to being an actual following fan of the sport, I rooted for him. He's also a class act, or so I thought, because that's only the case outside of the race car. So where did it all go wrong? Well, for me, I watched an Implement video. Yep, that's it. NASCAR and the Art of Revenge. Really a documentary level video that analyzes the history of the self-policing NASCAR garage and somehow ties it into some metaphors about life and stuff, which Implement does about everything. It's really some fascinating stuff, and you should check it out yourself. In fact, I'll link it in the description. But back on topic, I learned in that video about how he turned the usually reserved Matt Kenseth into a raging hellbent maniac.
Cleared by Logano, maybe no! Kenseth takes him out! Logano into the wall! Caution comes out and the crowd roars!
Which I'm okay with because it was Jeff Gordon's final win, but that's not the topic of today's video. Maybe another one though. And then after that, how he indirectly caused Carl Edwards to retire, among all other kinds of stuff. And the most egregious of all, he bumped Mark Martin to win his second race.
Into turn one.
No, it's the kind of thing you can't do. I'm telling you, one little mistake on each one of these guys. Oh, he is all under Mark Martin.
He got him sideways. Martin sideways off the corner. Here comes Joey Logano for the race lead.
We're not done yet. I don't think Mark's going to appreciate that too much.
No, but I truly believe that once Joey's in front, I do believe this. Joey checked out on him a minute ago because Joey can
Mark Martin being the guy that originally shined a spotlight on Joey and gave him the recognition that eventually got him up to Cup. He's basically the guy that gave him his shot. Without Mark Martin, it's very likely Joey Logano could not have got the same opportunities he ended up getting. Now, you may think this is all silly, basing my entire opinions on a little video, but that was only a push in the direction that I've arrived at now. Because I was certainly pushed over the edge over the next 2 years, based on the things that I've seen Joey Logano do on track, based on my actual observations as someone who watches pretty much every single race, week in, week out. So to cap that off, I've disliked Joey for most of the time I've been a fan. And the main reason that I'll always take Kyle Busch, or really almost any other driver there is, over Joey Logano, even though Joey and Kyle are both hated, is because as M stated, Joey didn't own it. Kyle Busch does. Kyle Busch lives for the booze.
They had a great car. Cup Series champion.
If it wasn't for lap traffic, it wouldn't even have been a race. I don't know what y'all are whining about, but if you don't like that kind of racing, don't even watch. Racing all
He reels them in. And we've seen time and time again an angry Kyle Busch is a motivated Kyle Busch. He's literally fueled by the tears and hatred of his enemies. He'd rather be hated for who he is than loved for who he's not. And that resonated with me. Even though I had a bad introduction with Kyle Busch when he wrecked Chase Elliott in like the 4th or 5th race I ever watched. And as a guy who lives in Georgia, well, let's just say I originally started following Chase Elliott right out the gate.
I draft Chase Elliott, but definitely turned him.
11th caution flag.
Oh boy.
Meanwhile, Joey Logano, in that first year of watching NASCAR, reminded me of a two-headed snake. He'd wreck someone for the win and get out and smile and talk like this, as if nothing happened. For me, it's not even that he's spoon-fed, as Tony Stewart once said, even though that does contribute to it, or that he wins all the time, which can get kind of annoying. I'll admit it should be okay for a driver to be successful, but when someone wins all the time, I root for them less. Like, it's just a habit. I think most fans can also relate to that. With Joey Logano, it's simply his driving style and his attitude toward competition. And now, I'm not saying Joey Logano single-handedly caused the rise in aggression in modern NASCAR, especially with the cars and track packages made the way they are now. But what I can say is that he was one of the first ones to drive the way most do now. That said, if you remember what I said before, I said Joey Logano didn't own it, because now he does, at least sort of. At least I see it that way. Lately, he's been acknowledging his way of racing and his personality on the track. Instead of smiling, he states exactly why he makes certain moves on the racetrack. Being able to flip a switch and become a completely different person on and off the racetrack.
We're hearing is never enough. Sounds greedy. Tell us about what it means to you.
Well, I'm supposed to be greedy, aren't I? I'm a race car driver. It kind of goes with the territory.
Joey Logano, your winner on Mother's Day weekend in Darlington.
Line. People are willing to do a lot of things when they're desperate, and when it's a chance like that, that's what the playoff does. The playoffs test your character all the way through, and with the car that I had, I knew I had to be patient and make sure that...
What happened on that?
I just overdrove the car. I screwed up. It was my mistake.
And crossing each other back and forth. I knew it was coming. I did it to him. I knew he was going to do it to me, and was able to cross back and forth there a couple of times.
I think this is a really important talking point, considering he's a Daytona 500 champion and a two-time series champion now, as of the end of last year. And I think that's really no coincidence. And also, he nearly won the Daytona 500 and came pretty close to winning Auto Club if his team made some better adjustments. And I think all of this is really no coincidence, because he does what he has to do to win. Same thing with Ty Gibbs winning the championship in Xfinity last year. And Joey has a code, even if he does adhere pretty loosely to it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I root for him now, but at least I won't be unhappy, or at least not as unhappy, when he wins, because he owns his style now. That's who he is. You don't have to like him, but he's established. He's one of the very best to ever do it in the sport, and he's earned his place in NASCAR. He has nothing to learn. There's nothing he has to take from anybody, and he doesn't have to change. And that's because instead of him molding into the sport molded into Joey. He's so unabashedly himself that I can't help but see a bit of charm in that. And beyond that, watching the full interview with him really humanized him and showed a side to him that I was totally and completely unwilling to see until I watched the entire thing. Despite that side of him being right in front of me the entire time. Now, will he go and wreck the entire field to win in the race next weekend and make me miserable for a whole week? Maybe. But for right now, in this moment that I upload this video, my mind has been swayed about Joey Logano. Now, the real challenge is learning to like Ty Gibbs. He's basically Joey Logano's indirectly created parasitic pet. It's going to be a little difficult to learn to like him and to get used to him in the Cup Series, because he makes Joey look like a saint for what he pulled last year. But either way, I'm here for it all. I have an undying passion for the sport and all the drama, personalities, and stories. So bring it on. I honestly can't wait to see how this season turns out, and maybe Joey will go back-to-back in championships, but we'll just have to see. But the thing is, he usually misses every other championship so it's looking a little dicey looking at the trends, knowing that he won the championship last year. Plus, the Chevys are off to a really good start this year, but who knows? Either way, I'll be here randomly uploading about topics I find compelling, because this channel is very rapidly becoming a NASCAR-specific channel, even though I want other topics to upload. Speaking of that, I think my next upload may be about the absurdity of manatees. So watch out for that, because they are very absurd. Manatees are crazy. Like, how do they even exist? Anyways, this has been the Hot Dog for the Hoffle. Thanks for watching.